So you guys don't make the same mistake and hire the wrong person, because that'll, I mean, that'll be shit. That'll be a 3 to 6 month setback. You hire the wrong person. It'll take you 3 to 6 months just for it not to work out, and finally they go their way or you let them go or whatever. It's nothing more frustrating than hiring somebody and then it not working out. That's why you have to be really good and understand, who you're looking for, and be very diligent with what you're doing, because it's your people that are going to make your business. So that's going to be, I already talked with you. I said, that's going to be another big hurdle. Your upcoming hurdles, we'll check your flow. But after you got your patient education down and we look at all your flow, the next hurdle is going to be your staff. Staff that can actually do what we want them to do. So, make sure you're familiar with the primary responsibilities that we want. Make sure you're familiar with personality profiles. That's the number one thing that'll make or break the employee right there. You hiring somebody that does not naturally have the ability to do the job you want them to do. That's where, 80% of the chiropractors go wrong. Especially when you go to the marketing person, you got to pick that marketing person good, because it's a little more of a confrontational, job. So you can't pick a passive phlegmatic week or something like that. I mean, you got to, learning how to pick good employees. Unfortunately, I can give you all the guidelines and this and help narrow it and all this, but sometimes you just have to go through a few to understand the mistakes you make, so you don't do them again. You have to kind of experience it, which is bad, because that takes a lot of time and effort.
Hey, Paul, I want to appreciate you going over with me on that one, the employee that I was trying to hire, and looking at that. I didn't end up hiring. Just so happened I met her husband in the gym, and she's 100% not a candidate for what we were trying to put her in, and he agreed, and it, like, you were 100% right on that one. I appreciate it.
I forget what the issue was with her.
She wasn't melancholy or choleric for the front desk, and so you were like, no. And I showed you the test score that she did.
Yeah.
And it was just, you were like, nope.
Yeah, and that one's real important, because that's your anchor.
Right.
I mean, that front desk person is the quarterback.
Yeah.
That's the anchor to your office. I mean, you cannot make a bad decision. Dan and Trevor, you're already seeing that. You guys made bad decision, and look at the shit you're dealing with.
Yeah, that's why I said something, because I know these guys are in there, and I'm like, by all means, it is true what he's talking about in terms of that.
Yeah, so make sure you just watch the videos, understand the parameters, what exactly we're looking for and why. And that'll help tremendously. And then, when you're interviewing, talk with me about it, about all these factors, and I'll kind of I'll shine some experience on you, pros and cons of, but man, that first employee is an anchor. I mean, you really need two good anchors in a chiropractic office. If you got two, the rest of them don't matter, because the front anchor takes care of the administrative, and the second anchor in the back takes care of the clinical. And then from there, it doesn't matter as much. You can, pick passive phlegmatic or this or that, or a lot of times all you need to do is hire a part-time person during the main hours, like a college kid or high school kid, and have them just come in during the main hours 3 days a week. And with two full-time people and a part-time person coming in during the main hours, one chiropractor that's really efficient, that has their systems down really good, they can easily see, well, most chiropractors can typically, remember I said, emotionally and physically only see about 200 visits a week. And that's when you're on the top of your game. So I'd say most chiropractors are down around 175, 180. But usually 180 to 220 visits a week if you're really efficient with good staff. And then you have a really high profit machine. You know, you're seeing 200 a week, give or take, and then get your dollar per visit up to about 75. It doesn't have to be crazy. It doesn't have to be 100, 150, but go and do the math. You see 180 visits a week at a $75 per visit. That's some serious profit, especially with our overhead. When we learn how to control our overhead's only 38%. So our overhead's not 50 or 70%, it's 30. So we have a nice profit margin. I remember I used to work only 1 out of 4 weeks in the month. Only 1 week was for overhead. 3 of the week, you know what that's like? When you collect enough money in the first 2 or 3 or 4 days that totally covers your overhead of the month. And then the rest of the month, all the money coming in is profit. You know what that feels like? That's some low stress right there, buddy. And then I'll talk with these guys that are, you know, that are doing $1 million a year, and their overhead is the first 3 weeks of the year. So, you know, their overhead's outrageous with all the stuff they got going. So, yeah, these are all things to be worked on, and, you know, increasing your skill level. And it's never ending. Of course, in the beginning, if you pay a lot more attention to it in the beginning, you can get through it quicker than dragging it out.